It's about the I got to say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Gets the ball, gets back, pulls up for the win. Got it! Detroit basketball. Oh, Holloman looks the clock, half court for the win. Oh! The Lions go for it. The Vikings bring it. The pass is a touchdown to give.
Javi Baez homered earlier. First one in the air, deep left field again. Yes, Tigers win! Javi is unstoppable!
This is BS Sports.
Hi. How's everybody doing today? Everybody doing all right? Everybody enjoying their week of their Christmas week? I guess Christmas is until Thursday. So that happened. It's like I'm like a millennial writer of a children's cartoon. So that was a tough weekend, wasn't it? That was not enjoyable. And that is pretty much going to be, and that being the Lions losing to the Steelers. In case you were living under a rock, that is what we were primarily going to be talking about. How's everybody doing? Everybody doing okay? Everybody enjoying their week? And look, this is pretty much where I'm at. Season's pretty much over. Technically, it's not over. But pretty much it is. I think I saw it was like a 19% chance for the Lions to make the playoffs, which is not zero, but pretty much zero. So look, there's a lot to talk about, and we're probably going to spend the bulk of this just kind of going back and forth. But I do want to go on my monologue here. I do want to get what I want off my chest, and we can talk about all sorts of other things. You guys good? You guys all right with that? Let's rock with that. Okay. Also, why in the world are they doing the Winter Classic in Florida? Do they not? Why NHL? Why? Sorry that you're still at work, buddy. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully you can get home soon. I don't know what your work schedule is, but sorry to hear that. Yeah, I did see that. JJ is out for this Thursday, so we'll have the third string quarterback for the Vikings. And if we can't beat him, then we're going to have to do some real soul searching. But this Lions loss to the Steelers, to me, this is a microcosm of the entire season for the Detroit Lions this year. So there are three things that I think are epitomized in this game and then in the entire season. Number one, the offense took too long to get going consistently. There's very poor protection up front, up the middle, very poor protection up front, particularly in the middle. So you're incapable of running the football, resulting in Jared Goff having to play hero ball, which granted he put up some big numbers, throwing the ball 40 plus, 50 plus times, but big numbers nonetheless. Defense looked fine in the first half, looked pretty good even, and then completely falling apart in the second half. On the offensive and frankly on the defensive side, play calling and untimely errors, bad penalties, ruin the momentum of drives, ruin the ability to get stops. And that is the game. That is the game, and that was the season. Like, I've probably said it a number of times already on this very show, but it's hard to do what the Lions did so well the last two, if you want to count 2022, 3 years, which was, run the football and then allow Jared Goff to cook with the play action. It's hard to do that when you're running your third and fourth string center and you're playing rotation, you're playing musical chairs at one of the most important positions on the offensive line. It's just hard to do. So really, this season is pretty much over. And of course, everybody is going to play the blame game. This is just what we do. And on this show, I try to be very reasonable. And cut to me, yelling about the Pistons losing in the lottery or whatever. I try to offer that it's not when it comes to losing in sports, it is almost certainly not one singular thing. it is usually a number of things that go wrong, especially when we're talking about a season collapsing like this. The main one to me is the injuries. I mean, you're down to like I said, you're playing musical chairs with your starter. You're not going to win a whole lot of football games. I don't care who you're playing. You could play the Titans, and you're not going to win a whole lot of football games running 3 different guys out of the center position. It's just not going to work. But you also got to think, look, a lot of the season really started to collapse when you lose, when the combination of losing guys like Kirby, guys like Branch, guys like Laporta, and then you got Brock Wright down. I mean, you're down to your third and your fourth string tight ends. You're down to your, third and fourth string center. Your interior Christian Mahogany, he's been down. Awashika, his backup is down. Like, the amount of guys that go down at a certain point, it is just a matter of you're putting practice squad players out there while the other guys are putting, even if it is, injuries having an effect, they're at least putting their backups in. You're putting in guys that didn't make the team, basically. The other thing that I would blame on the point of the offense, on the point of the offensive line, is the trenches overall. The trenches overall this year, it just wasn't good enough. Like, you have on the defensive side, you have Aleem McNeil and you have Aiden Hutchinson and friends. Like Tyler Lacey. Is Tyler Lacey the edge opposite of Hutch? I don't even like Al-Qadim Muhammad, I guess, was pretty good in spurts. But it just wasn't good enough. DJ Reader wasn't good enough. You were down Levi Onwuzurike for the entire season. Josh Paschal, I don't even know if he exists. I don't even. Apparently, he was done for the year. I didn't even know that. News to me. Pat O'Connor, I don't know if he exists. But again, we're getting to names that, okay, these guys might be good in a spot, in a have to have it game, but this is not going to work. Long term, that's just not going to work. And then on the offensive side, look, you lost Frank Ragnow, but you also lost Kevin Zeitler. And Brad Holmes really didn't do a good job replacing either of them. Now, granted, I don't think it was going to be easy to replace, especially Frank Ragnow, who's an all-pro, potentially future Hall of Fame center. But either way, I can't say, I can't blame you because it's hard to do. It's your job to do it, and it wasn't done well enough. And then it is on the coaching. Let's just be honest with ourselves. The new coordinators, at best, didn't make their respective units better. And at worst, they made them significantly worse. They made them much, much worse. The hiring, wow, I sound Canadian. The hiring of John Morton was questioned, but at least there was a certain level of, okay, we're going to trust Campbell. He hired Ben Johnson before him. He wasn't going to make the same mistake with hiring Anthony Lynn. He got rid of him in the middle of that year as well. John Morton had some familiarity with the offense. We were sold that this was not going to be a massive change in the offensive mindset, but let's just face it, it totally was. I mean, the offense, scheme-wise, is just not as good. And defensively, there are times where the defensive scheme, frankly, is just not as good. And again, if you want to say with Shep, he's losing a lot of personnel. He's running out there with practice squad guys, the legion of whom is a thing in his first year as a full-time coordinator. Totally understand. But there's certainly no excuse on the offensive side, even with the offensive line problems. I mean, I was texting Seth to get his picks for this week, and he pointed out something that I totally had. It was not even crossing my mind. The Chargers are 11-4, and they lost 2 of their best offensive linemen throughout the season. One of them hasn't played all year. They don't seem to be having a lot of trouble getting points on the board. I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl, but they're 11-4. You're 8-7, and you've lost back-to-back, and you haven't won back-to-back since October. And then finally, on the point, I've already kind of alluded to it, and it's roster construction. The holes on this team are primarily in the trenches. I think in the skill position, You're still pretty good. Amon-Ra is good. St. Brown is good. Jared Goff is good. Gibbs and Montgomery are good. When you use Montgomery, that is. And that's a discussion for later in the show. But it felt a little bit like, okay, we were really going to rely on a lot of things going our way. And I know that there was some things where, like I said, with Ragnow, even with Zeitler leaving, Zeitler went closer to family, and he's, in the twilight of his career. It just, whatever you want to say about what Brad Holmes should have done, what he shouldn't have done, what he did do simply wasn't enough. And I hope that he can identify that. I don't think we have any reason to believe that he's just completely out of it. I mean, like, I know there are some people who seem to think that he's suddenly a bad GM because, I don't know, he didn't trade for Myles Garrett or something. Things that just weren't going to happen. Now, with that being said, this offseason is going to be probably his most important offseason since the 2022 going into 2023 offseason. And he nailed the 2022 going into 2023 offseason, I think. So the question is he going to nail this one? Well, we know this. We can't take the same approach that has been taken at least the last couple of years. We can't have the, avoidance of larger term deals or larger investment trades with only signing your own guys. Like, you can't have an offseason of, we're going to sign Laporta, we're going to sign Branch, and then we're going to, I don't know, bring back Roy Lopez and run it back. That's just not going to work. That's whether or not it does or doesn't work. I think it probably won't work. But you can't sell fans that, especially not after this kind of collapse. It's similar to what Scott Harris is doing with the Tigers. You can't just pretend as though the collapse didn't happen and be insistent on your approach. Now, I don't know what exactly it is Holmes is going to do. And I will judge the things that he actually does, not the things that I wish he would do or whatever. But if there are players that are available, either through trade or through signing, especially the defensive and offensive lines, he's got to make those moves if they're top end talents. If a big name offensive lineman on a bad team, wants out, he's got to go out and make that move. If there's a free agent that can help you get better in the short or the long term, he's got to make that move. And on that point, I wanted somebody on the Detroit Lions Reddit asked a good question about what approach do you want Brad Holmes to take in this draft? And I answered in this way, and I think it can apply to more than just the draft. We need to stop bringing in guys that have history of injuries. It's one thing if you want a short-term, low-risk, high-reward player, maybe a guy past his prime, maybe a guy who has put up some big numbers when healthy but has failed to stay healthy. We can't. We just have too many of those kinds of players on the team, frankly. Like, we have a Josh Pascal already. We have a Levi Onwuzurike already. We have, at this point, a Brian Branch already. I mean, Brian Branch, he's not immune to injuries. He's been injured the last couple of seasons. We have too many of those guys to risk adding more to that. So we need to focus on health. And I don't know what it is, why the Lions continue to be one of the top injured teams over the past 2-3 years, but figure it out. Whether it's conditioning, whether it's, modes of practice, I don't know. I'm not there. Maybe it is just freak accidents and the Lions are just unlucky. It's entirely possible. But you get unlucky 1 year, it's unlucky. You get unlucky 2 years, it's really unlucky. You get unlucky 3 years, you start to think, okay, are we unlucky or are we doing something wrong? Now, you could be wrong in thinking you're doing something wrong. You could be doing everything right and just getting unlucky. But the fact is, this team has utterly collapsed. And whether they make or don't make the playoffs, to me, is kind of irrelevant. Because short of them having a 2008 Giants type run where suddenly everybody, like Aiden just becomes Lawrence Taylor and Jared Goff pulls, a playoff Eli Manning and they just start upsetting teams randomly. Even if they do make the playoffs, they're probably not going to do much. And I really hope that from all levels, from the players to ownership, this is a wake-up call that you will not be able to be good forever, okay? And you can do the right, you can make the right moves ad infinitum for the most part. You can continue to be smart and not, throw away the present or throw away the future for the sake of the present. But you also need to acknowledge that, look, this team needs to get better, and it needs to get better fast, because as much as I hate to say it, teams like the Bears and the Packers are looking at you they're turning their heads to look at you because they're in front of you right now. Now, will they remain in front of you by, 2, 3, 4 years down the line? I don't know, but I'm living in the present. Excuse me. I'm living in the present. And I just hope that Brad Holmes and company realize that, we got to live in the present too. We can't live 4 years down the line. I want to win the Super Bowl this year, not 4 years from now. So it sucks. It's depressing, but a lot of times this is what happens. Teams do not just keep their winning ways after losing a Hall of Fame center and 2 coordinators. Maybe we should have just expected this. All right. Now we'll bring it into open discussion. I just wanted to get everything off my chest. All right. And we'll kind of go through. So a lot of comments here. I want to try to highlight some of them. I want to get to because you Bacon Bombs, you alluded to this David Montgomery thing. Okay. I'm not on social media, so I'm not following David Montgomery. I got to tell you, and we as fans need to calm down. I've heard multiple people talk about, oh my gosh, David Montgomery, he wants a trade. He's going to request a trade. We should get rid of him. We're not using him. Guys, he's under contract. Okay. So the only way he's leaving is if he requests a trade. Secondly, it would be asinine for us to trade him at this point. Like, we just signed him and we're going to trade him for what? Like a 5th round pick? Like, that would be stupid. What we need to do is fix the offensive line and fix the offensive scheme so that he is more involved. Now, I agree. He absolutely should be more involved. But at the same time, you got to think, well, he is clearly the worst running back than Jahmyr Gibbs, but he helps insulate Jahmyr Gibbs. And he also helps allow for those big plays to be more frequent with Jahmyr Gibbs because he's the ground and pound kind of guy. And then that allows for Gibbs's, lightning fast speed to be able to, bring out those big plays. Now, if he truly is he's like, I do not want to be here. You guys hate me because this 1 year it didn't work out with me and everything. Then fine. Then maybe you got to trade him. But you got to get him in a room. You got to say, okay, David, we know we should be using you more. Our offensive scheme didn't work. We're going to get rid of the OC. We're going to bring in somebody new. We're going to fix this offensive line, and we're going to be right back to where we were in 23 and 24 when you were, back. You and Gibbs were, neck and neck with one another, basically. So that's what needs to be done. On that point of fans being crazy, though, I got to tell you, I think I got to take all sports media. I got to take it off, basically. I can't. Yesterday, and I'll call it out by name, Mike Valenti yesterday. I don't know if he is doing this intentionally, if he truly believes this. I heard this man say, unprompted, that we should be thinking about potentially trading Aleem McNeil. Okay. Is Aleem McNeil Chris Jones? No, he is not. But what in the world are we doing? You are suggesting, because we've already put him under contract to however much money we're paying him, that we trade him to save money when one of our issues on this team is pass rush and defensive line. So your suggestion is to get rid of the 25-year-old nose tackle for, I don't know, to run DJ Reader back out there. Like, if you want to say maybe you want to trade DJ Reed or even DJ Reader, okay, I guess I could see that. Or maybe even a guy like Derek Barnes. Even that I wouldn't necessarily agree with, because I think Derek Barnes has been pretty good. But I could get that. But one of our main problems is defensive line. And you want to get rid of one of your better defensive linemen who is young and controllable? And by the way, even if you want to say, well, he hasn't been good this year, well, he's coming off of an ACL tear from like less than 12 months ago. I wouldn't expect him to be running a 4.40. Like, this is the other thing that I think maybe a lot of people are missing is, Hutch and McNeil, they are both a year off of their injury. With Hutchinson, he was starting the whole year, so you might say he has less of an excuse. And this is not an excuse for their quality of play, but it sometimes might just take a year, and this is unfortunate to have to hear, but a year to really get yourself back into the swing of things, and be ready to, really tear it up. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. It's just what sometimes occurs. Okay, it's not like you tore your ACL, you're back, and then you're getting 100 sacks a game. It's not realistic. Okay, but anyway, the other thing was just like the amount of anti-Jared Goff sentiment that was going around, and frankly anti-Dan Campbell sentiment. Like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, whether you like it or not, Jared Goff and Dan Campbell are here to stay, and you should frankly be liking it, because the amount of teams that would rather have Jared Goff and Dan Campbell at that position than you, there's a lot more of those teams than there are of teams who want to get rid of them. Namely, one, us. Campbell gets this team. He gets the players. He is beloved by the players. And Jared Goff, despite a terrible season for the team, is putting up some really big numbers. Like, I understand that we want to win, and when we're losing, it's like a marriage. Okay, every little thing that the other person does, now annoys you when you're in an argument. Like, whether it's actually reasonable to be upset about certain things, it doesn't matter, because you're angry because things are not going well, and every little thing has to be critiqued. When, like I said in the segment, it's not as though it's one person is blamed for all of this. It's not one person's fault. It's a myriad of faults. Collapses like this don't just happen because because we didn't sign Trey Hendrickson. By the way, Trey Hendrickson has not played a whole lot of football this year. So ironic, given, we tend to bring in injured players, but anyway. Yeah, this is my boy. Brad's going to target anything in the offseason. It has to be the trenches. Decker's not going to be here next year. We can't count on Frank, and he unfortunately, and he really shouldn't come back. I agree. Yeah, Frank is. If they are expecting Frank Ragnow to come back next year, I just look. I mean, I would love to have Frank back, but I just don't think a year removed of not playing football, coming out of a third degree or third level 3 hamstring, that's a bad idea. Just as a human being, Frank, no. Like, we are going to have to deal with how to, replace Frank Ragnow on our own. And maybe it's Tate Ratledge. Tate Ratledge quietly has been one of the better rookie guards, and frankly, one of the better guards in general in the NFL. And obviously they had experimented with potentially moving him to center, but they weren't ready to, do that at the top. Maybe that's not saying that this is what is going to be satisfying to people. I'm just telling you that might be how they feel internally. And I know people will immediately be like, why aren't you going to sign, prime Frank Ragnow? It's like, well, I don't know what the center market is going to be in free agency. They do need to attack the trenches. This is not an excuse for not doing that. They need to attack the trenches. I hope they know that they need to attack the trenches, both frankly in the draft and in free agency and trades. They need to attack the trenches. They just need to, because if you don't do that, I mean, you already have a kind of a logjam at wide receiver. You just don't have a whole lot of room anymore for guys. I think it's going to be St. Brown, Williams, and Tesla. That's going to be your 1-2-3 punch with Laporta and Gibbs in there in the passing game. So that means that those positions are frankly just out. I just don't think there's any reason for you to be doing that. And then on the defensive side, you're going to need to. Ennis Rakestraw needs to get on the field, but we don't even know if he's good because he hadn't gotten on the field. And Terry Arnold needs to do the same. And again, with him, we also don't really know if he's that good because when he's on the field, it's questionable at times. Same with DJ Reed and many of the other members of the second. But again, it's difficult to read, no pun intended, difficult to read some of these guys because, DJ Reed doesn't look good when he's the only, starting caliber cornerback out there. So, I don't know. There was a few other things I wanted to point out. People going to talk about the final play, but that OPI and Tesla before was way worse of the two calls. Yeah, absolutely. This is true. This is the other thing that gets me is for a lot of these people, especially, again, Mike Valeni on the ticket. And I largely like Mike Valeni. I think he does a pretty good job at what he does. But it's like whenever a player complains about officiating or specifically Lions players, it seems to me, or really any player, it's like he has this knee-jerk reaction to just be like, oh, stop complaining. Oh, you didn't get robbed. You didn't play well. When it's like, okay, yeah, you didn't play well. You should have played better. Shouldn't let it come up to the refs. However, you got kind of screwed. Is that fair? It's similar to the Cowboys game a couple of years ago. It's like, yeah, should have played better. Should have won the game earlier. Shouldn't have had to come down to the final play of the game. But you know what? That's what happens sometimes in football. Sometimes it does come down to the final play. And when you have to play against two different opponents, that's not going to satisfy anybody. I mean, does Pittsburgh come away from that game thinking, oh yeah, we're great now? No, they come away from that game thinking, oh my gosh, we got away with murder, basically, because we had every reason to lose that game. But they got away with it. I think Mahogany is probably more than serviceable. I think he's pretty good. I mean, given his where he was drafted and all that, but yeah, you're gonna need a center and a tackle. I agree totally. You got Sewell, you got Mahogany, and you got Ratledge. And there was another one. What's his name? Miles Frazier. I think they played him once this year. He looked pretty okay. Again, they have a lot of players, and it's always good to have more options. Just find the equivalent of Kevin Zeitler. Whatever that player is, whoever that player is, find him. Because so today the Lions YouTube channel, and I assume all their social media, posted this montage of all of the touchdown runs for Jahmyr Gibbs in his career. And it was just so funny watching. I was like, wow, the offensive line in his first 2 years was so much better. Light years better. It was night and day. And then they got to this year and I was like, wow, he is running for his life most of the time. And some of that is scheme. Some of that is just talent. I think it's probably, it probably varied for different times of the year. I think at the beginning of the year is probably scheme. Middle of the year was probably talent. And now it's just it's both. It's scheme and talent. So the shortest sort of dynamic. I mean, come on now. Are we really if we really think that the Lions are just going to fall flat and just never be back to where they were the last couple of years, then why do we even watch? I don't know. Maybe, yeah. Maybe they just completely fall flat and they're right back to where they used to be. And it was basically a repeat of the 90s Lions. Maybe you're right, but I don't think we have much reason to believe that. I mean, we have reason to believe that they are capable of getting better from where they were, in as much as they have been better. And then this is the other thing that was getting me, is the Ben Johnson talk. There were people who were genuinely saying they wish they had Ben Johnson over Dan Campbell. And to me, that is like, this is the epitome of prisoner of the moment. Now, Ben Johnson might be a really good head coach. I don't know. He's only coached for a year and he hadn't even finished this year. What I do know is, and we'll get to it in a little bit, he got away with murder in that Green Bay Packer game. There was no world where he deserved to win that football game. And I'm sure he would tell you that too. I mean, what is the percentage chance of not recovering an onside kick? Green Bay? Like, I'm, again, not saying that, Ben Johnson isn't good, because clearly he's had early success, but maybe let's hold off on saying he's the best coach in the universe and we just let him walk. Let's just hold off on that. I'm old enough to remember when Matt Nagy had a really good year with Chicago and then immediately fell off and was fired in like 2 years. Again, I'm not saying he's Matt Nagy. All I'm saying is, let's wait. Let's not the one thing that we have as human beings is our reason and our intellect. I realize I said one thing and then I said two things. Shut up. The two things, we have many things. Many of the few things we have is our reason and our intellect. And what we can't do is we cannot become prisoners of the moment and just fall into this doomer loser attitude about how everything's going to fall apart. Brad Holmes doesn't know what he's doing. He thinks all the fans are dumb. Dan Campbell was a Ben Johnson merchant, and he was only successful because he had Ben Johnson. Like, stop. Okay, we're not there yet. Okay, maybe we will be there. How about we wait until we get there before we make these declarations? Because otherwise, it's just depressing. It's kind of like, it's like the guy who, he gets rejected on a date. And then he like thinks, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to find another woman. Life is terrible. Women suck. This is the worst. I'm never going to stop. This is not helpful. This is just stupid. This is just you you were just airing your grievances like it's Festivus. It actually is Festivus, to be fair, but I got a lot of problems with you people. Anyway. Yes, this is also true. Not having either of your starting tight ends has significantly harmed your ability to run the football. Clearly. I mean, what was our rushing yards last couple of games? Like 40 yards? Like that's as much on tight ends not playing as it is, the actual quality of the running backs and the scheme. When you're relying on Anthony Fursker and, Bob Badu or whatever the other guy's name who's playing tight end for us, it's just impossible. Like, you're just not going to be able to have a whole lot of success. Laporta and Brock Wright, both very good blocking tight ends, and Laporta obviously a very good receiving tight end as well. But anyway. Certainly a huge mindset shift with Brad and Dan. Still can't believe Dan hasn't grown out of the go for it on fourth. Still hasn't learned to take the points in certain situations. I guess I would say to that, I don't think it's like something to grow out of. I think it's it's 4th and 3 or 4th and goal. Like the one that people will talk about in this past game was the 4th and goal at the beginning of the game that we failed to convert on. In my mind, it's 4th and goal from like the 4. If you can't run an offensive play for 4 yards, then you're not going to win the game anyway, whether you take the points or not. And when you're in that spot, and I understand I'm a little bit more new school about it. I'm willing to just say, look, you're in no man's land. There's no reason to punt the ball away if you're in like the 45 or rather like the 40, where you're kind of, it's pretty far for a field goal, unless it's like 4th and 8. Then maybe you say, okay, maybe we just punt it or we try to kick a field goal. But if it's 4th and 4 or less, I'm just like, well, I probably feel like, depending on how the rest of the drive is gone, I probably just feel like my offense has a better shot of getting it than, and long term, it wears down on defenses more. So I'm not willing to, like, I know some people are like, why doesn't he change? It's like, well, this is how you got here. Why would you want to change? I guess one might say, well, you got here, so now you have to change. And that just doesn't compute with me. And I understand it some people, maybe you count yourself in that, Jimmy. Maybe you think just take the points. In my mind, it's kind of, if you lose the game, whatever you did or didn't do on fourth down, the opposite is going to be the critique. So if they lose this game and they kick the field goal there, what people are going to say is, it's fourth and goal from the 4. Why aren't you going for it? Why are you abandoning your entire, how you got here? It's the same thing with the San Fran game and the NFC Championship game. Like, all the people are like, why is he going for it? Why doesn't he just take the points? It's like, well, first of all, in that game in particular, can we please, catch the ball, Josh Reynolds? But that's a discussion for another day. But either way, forget about Josh Reynolds for a second. If he kicks the point, if he gets the points and they get, 6 points and they lose the game, the discussion is not going to be, well, I'm glad he took the points. It's going to be, why did he take the points? Why didn't he be more aggressive? Our offense was cooking them. Why not, run a quick out route to whomever? Why not run all over them? This is why I don't like. And I know some people might have, if it's a fundamental disagreement with what he's doing, that I can at least respect. If it's the result determines whether I think this is a worthwhile thing, like whether I think it's good to go for it on fourth down, should not be determined by whether or not they get it on fourth down. And I'm sure Campbell and everybody will feel this way. And frankly, the rest of the league has followed suit. I mean, we saw it in the Rams game. McVay, the year we played him in the playoffs, he was really conservative, and it probably cost him the game. And in the game we played a couple of weeks ago, he was the opposite of conservative. He could have taken the points in those fourth downs, but frankly, could have lost the game because those going for it on fourth downs, those resulted in a touchdown drive. Anyway. Yeah, no, you're just not going to win a whole lot of football games like this. You're just not. And what I will say about that is that, to me, says much more about the scheme and the offensive line than it does about the quality of rushers. Because it's definitely not that Dave Montgomery is terrible, but it's also not that, he's the most amazing player. Like, I think there's kind of two sides of it that get very conflated at times. And yes, David Montgomery is not as good as he was in 23 or 24. That is not to say that he's terrible, but it is to say that, look, it feels like they are maneuvering on trying to get Gibbs more involved in the offense. Even last year when Montgomery went down, the offense didn't really lose much steam. So that's not to say, again, that David Montgomery has no role. I think he does. I love David Montgomery. He's one of my favorite players. When they brought him in, I was like jumping up and down. Like I was so hooked on that because I knew him from the Bears. I said, he is absolutely an upgrade from Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. And there are many individuals who will remain nameless who said, that is stupid. What are you talking about? Why would you pay a running back like that? And I said, nay. This guy is going to do really, really good. And I was right. And so that's why I really like David Montgomery. Whenever a player proves that Mike is right, that's a player that I like. That's pretty much the only example I can think of immediately. Trying to think of a few others. I mean, I remember liking Kirby Joseph pretty early. I remember thinking, okay, this guy's kind of a dog. Like he hits people pretty hard, and he's got an eye for the football. Like I think I remember that in like early 2022. And I remember like, okay, because he played in the Big Ten, so I was somewhat familiar with Illinois. Not very, but I remember his name, and I was like, oh, okay. So there you go. Those are Kirby Joseph and David Montgomery. Those are Mike's guys. You can put a graphic up there, which is Kirby Joseph and David Montgomery, and then a picture of me just looking like an idiot, as I normally do. And there. Yeah. And this is the other thing, too. I mean, the amount of times where you can go back and watch the live reaction, like and subscribe, where I was like, hand off to Gibbs and he's taken down to the backfield. Or like, there were so many times where they were setting themselves up with 1st and 10, run the ball, and now it's 2nd and 12, or 2nd and 11, or 2nd and 13. And you're not going to win football games that way. You're just not. But all right. That is enough Lions stuff. Let's talk a little bit of other NFL stuff, because there are some other things I want to briefly talk about. And the first thing I want to talk about is this Seahawks-Rams game, because that game was crazy. I didn't watch this game, or at least not the full thing. I went to bed at the half because some of us work for a living. Shout out Thursday Night Football. I don't know why they don't, like, I understand these are two West Coast teams, so I guess maybe in their mind they're going to just start it at like 8 o'clock anyway. But like, start this game at like 6:30. Still night. I don't know. They don't come to me for these things. I know with this game it probably wouldn't work. I understand. But anyway. My question about this Seahawks team, are they kind of sleepers to go to the Super Bowl? Like, Sam Darnold, I always make fun of him for not winning the big game. He won the big game. Now, granted, maybe it was just a matter of time that he would eventually win a big game. But he played fine. He had 2 interceptions that almost cost him the game. And I don't want to say that the Seahawks team is, I mean, they're obviously very good. And if they get the 1 seed, look, that place is really tough to play. like the Seahawks home field advantage is a real thing. And maybe, Sam Darnold, this could be kind of a real resurgence for him. I mean, you saw it last year with the Vikings. I think it all kind of fell apart there at the end here for him, as the Lions defense completely shut him down, and then obviously the Rams shut him down in the playoffs. This could be like a little bit of a resurgence. I mean, like, if LA has to play, I don't know who they would play, but if they can avoid having to play LA a 3rd time, because I don't like having to play the same team 3 times in a row, 3 times in a row, 3 times in general. You probably want to go with playing them once or twice. If they can get away from, like, if it's Seattle and Chicago, or Seattle and Green Bay, and it's in Seattle, I'm taking Seattle. I just am. So it's good stuff. I think they could be a little bit of a sleeper to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't think that they're really getting the kind of attention that a lot of the other teams in both the AFC and the NFC are getting. So, and then on the point of other NFC teams, I don't care. The Bears played like garbage and they got away with it. They got away with playing like trash this whole game. All right. Caleb Williams, all people are going to talk about is that stupid game-winning touchdown. They're not going to talk about the fact that he was 19 for 34. Guy had 15 incompletions. Not going to talk about that. That before the overtime game winner, he had 1 touchdown. Like, ridiculous. This Bears team, all they did this whole game was play like utter garbage. They didn't score a point in the first half. They were getting shut out. They were down 13-3 going into the final quarter of the game. And then they just wee into a win. Ridiculous. And yes, I'm a little salty because it's Ben Johnson and it's Caleb Williams and it's the Bears. Yes, I'm salty. But you know what? This is ridiculous. You cannot convince me they deserve to win that game. They kick an onside kick. I've lived my whole life watching football. I think I can remember like 2 times that an onside kick actually results in the successful recovery from the kicking team. And yet, there they go, getting that recovery, and then end up, obviously, tying the game and go from there. Ridiculous. And it's not like the running backs have been playing all that well. DeAndre Swift had 13 carries for 58 yards. That's decent. It's not great. They didn't have a rushing touchdown all game. Ridiculous. And there was no Micah Parsons. They played like that against a completely destroyed Packer defense, and Jordan Love left the game. Ridiculous. You know what? Lose in the playoffs, and that will make it funny. I want them to lose by another double doink. Is that mean? Yes, it is. but it's the Bears. They deserve it. I want to see the Bills win the Super Bowl. Yes, I do. I do want that too. I want that so bad. I want that so bad. There's no Chiefs. That's their boogeyman in the postseason. I know that. I mean, the other team, though, as far as the Bills go, the other team in the AFC, and we're going to talk about them in just a second here. The other team, kind of the Jags. You want to talk about you know what the AFC equivalent is to the Seahawks? It's the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but they've been winning a lot of football games. Like ever since they lost to the Texans weeks and weeks ago, they've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row. 6 in a row. 3 of those on the road, mind you. And one of them in Denver, who was one of the best teams in the AFC going into that. And Trevor Lawrence has been playing excellently. And they'll have, I think they'll be able to clinch their division with the win next week. They got 2 divisional opponents coming up. So, who knows? Those can be tough, even though it is Tennessee. But the Jags are really good. Somehow. I don't know how, but they are. And I'm pretty sure if they win, actually, I don't know because I think they have to win the next 2 to clinch the division, right? Because the Houston Texans are 10-5, so they would have to, and Texans obviously have the I believe they have the tiebreaker, although they split. So if they both go 12-5, who wins? I don't know. Anyway, either way. I guess if they win the next 2, they clinch the division. So good for Jacksonville. They're fun. And you know what? I always root for our fellow cat teams. And speaking of cat teams, shout out to the Carolina Panthers. I believed. Let the record show. I believed. Now, I don't know why I'm believing, because I don't think Bryce Young is very good. And I actually ultimately don't think the Panthers are really all that good. But whatever. I don't care. It's vibes. Rico Dowdle is willing their way into the playoffs. If Dave Montgomery does leave, that's the running back I want. I believe he's on a 1-year deal. Go ahead and pick him up. If you put Rico Dowdle with Jahmyr Gibbs in his backfield, that sounds good to me. Now, you got to fix the offensive line, all that being said, but be fine with getting Rico Dowdle as a David Montgomery replacement. I don't know I'm pretty sure he's available. I think he's only on a 1-year deal. But anyway. I did not believe in the Panthers. Look, you know what? I'm not making fun of anybody who didn't. I mean, it is the Panthers. It is. I mean, yeah. Yeah. No, you want to talk about coaches who got to go. I don't know if you did the misspelling of his name on purpose, but you misspelled his name to Todd Bowles, which I'm assuming that's on purpose. You know what Todd Bowles looks like? Hold on. Let me get a picture of Todd Bowles. He kind of looks like the pictures of him smiling, they don't feel real. He kind of looks like Forrest Whitaker if he was sad. Let me get a picture of Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, he kind of looks like sad Forrest Whitaker. I guess some of these pictures of Forrest Whitaker, he looks kind of sad. Yeah, I think sad Forrest Whitaker. That's Todd Bowles. That's so mean. That's so mean. I like Forrest Whitaker. He was in that one movie. Actually, I don't know what movie he was in. He was in Black Panther. I remember that. He was in Arrival. He was in yeah. He was in those movies. He was in wasn't he in the Rogue One? Emeka Egbugbuu? Franklin the Turtle. That's a good one. That's good. He is kind of like Franklin the Turtle. I like that. I mean, Emeka Egbugbuu, I'm pretty sure he just got hurt. And this is why, once again, we have to be careful and not be prisoners of the moment. Because if you would have said that Emeka Egbugbuu, and yes, I am only going to call him that because that's what Rob Gronkowski called him, and I think it's funny. If you thought Emeka Egbugbuu was not going to win the Rookie of the Year, say in week 3, people would have said you're an idiot, you're not watching the game, you're stupid. But he gets hurt and he doesn't look the same. Now, that's not to say he's not. I think he's very good. I think he's a good receiver. But he got hurt. So, it happens. Injuries do, in fact, happen. But all right. So, okay, before we get into the final segment, which is, of course, the picks, I wanted to end the show with a little bit of Christmas cheer, a little bit of fun on top of, I guess, a kind of, sports commentary thing. So I'm dubbing this segment Mike's Christmas wish list for all of his favorite teams. I know it's a little bit of a mouthful, but we're working on it with marketing. We're going to figure out a good name for it, and we're gonna work it out. But as it stands, it'll be Mike's Christmas wish list. So I don't have any Christmas music, so just pretend that like some nice Christmas. You know what you can do? You can go on YouTube right now when you're watching this video. Go on YouTube and find like one of those like live unlimited Christmas background music. Just go ahead and play one of those with slightly quieter volume over this, and it'll fill the void. It'll fill up the vibe with Christmas cheer. So this is each team's my wish list item for each of them. Okay. For the Detroit Lions, we've already kind of talked about it, but fix the trenches and hire better coaches. And of course, stay healthy. And I also put make the playoffs? Question mark? I guess. I don't know if I want them to make the playoffs in a way. I kind of want the higher draft pick. But by the time this video even comes out, they might even be eliminated already because they might have lost to the Vikings. So hopefully not that. Thank you, Jimmy. He's gonna sing Christmas carols. Everyone, just imagine in your head, just in your head, Christmas carols are going off. For MSU football, this is what I would like for Michigan State football this Christmas. Don't be lifeless. Just have a pulse. Just exist. Fitzgerald seems to at least have some energy, but can we just look like a real football team? That's what I want. That's what I want for Christmas for Michigan State football. For our beloved Detroit Pistons, they play a big game tonight against the Sacramento Kings. They're on their West Coast trip to end the year, calendar year. I'm going to be a little bit bolder. I'm going to say make a big move at the trade deadline. You're probably going to be the number one team in the East, if not close to the number one team. Why not make that move that similar to what the Pacers did when they brought in Pascal Siakam? Make a move of that quality to make yourself the new Indiana Pacers, because currently Tyrese Halliburton is dead. And so you need to make sure that he does not ever come back as a threat. So make a big move. Wouldn't it be something if we could make a Rasheed Wallace type move in Detroit again? Wouldn't that be fun? That was fun. Do that. For the Detroit Red Wings, they're playing a big game right now. I'm all decked out in Red Wings gear. They're tied up 1-1 with the Stars. My wish for them is just make the playoffs. All you have to do is break through. Right now, you're playing so good. You're one of the top teams in the East, but it's a very close East. At any given week, a losing streak, you can be dropped right out of the playoffs. Make the playoffs, And if you don't, Eisman needs to go. Like, there should be no excuse at that point. Make the playoffs. Make yourself actually show as a playoff team. You say make the playoffs and win a series. I just make the playoffs. And because that is the lowest possible bar that I like. Get into the postseason, get that monkey off your back, and go from there. Okay. I'm still not totally convinced that Eisman is the guy right now, but you make the playoffs. That's my wish. All right. It's pretty low bar for the Red Wings. And then for Michigan State hoops, I'd say player development, because that's what Tom Izzo does. Some of your youngsters are going to need some more time to cook, but especially please learn how to shoot threes. I would love to win the Big Ten back-to-back years. That'd be awesome. I'd love to even go back to the Final Four. Haven't been able to say that in a while, and I'm sure I think this team is perfectly capable of making a run, but you're going to need to learn how to shoot threes. So just please just please learn how. I don't care what it takes, Tom. If you got to throw them in the gym for 8 straight hours, just shooting threes until they get 100 in a row, do that. Please. And finally, for our beloved Motor City Kitties, the Detroit Tigers. hit the baseball into fair territory where the player is not, where the opponent is not. What I'm trying to say is have an offense. Hit the baseball consistently. And that goes for the great players or the really good players. I'm not willing to go that far, like Riley Green or Kerry Carpenter. But it also goes for guys like Spencer Torkelson and Dylan Dingler and Zach McKinstry and Gleyber Torres. You know, hit the ball. Get a hit. Get a hit in a big spot. Get consistent hits. Be a very good, high caliber offense with some bats that people care about. That is what I want. So that is all my teams. I am curious if you are not a Detroit sports fan, if you happen to come upon this video, or if you are, what is your wish list for this upcoming calendar year for your particular sports teams? What do you guys want for these teams for Christmas? With that being said, this will probably be uploaded after Christmas Day, but I hope everybody has a Merry, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, although I'll be back on the show before the New Year. But either way, I just want good things for my teams. You know what I didn't say on any of these? I didn't say a championship. That goes without saying. These are other things. These are other things that I want. These are like stocking stuffers. The championship is like, it's like in a Christmas Story where it came in the big box, the leg lamp. That's the championship. The championship is basically the leg lamp. I like doing this show. Hey, I'm with you. I'm also tired of the low bars for Eisman. But here's what I'll say. I'm lowering the bar not so much for his sake. I'm lowering the bar because if he is incapable of getting to the playoffs this year, then there's definitely no reason to keep him. It's more of like, okay, can you just do this? Like, not because I will be, you're now the savior. Everybody was totally wrong about Steve Yzerman. It's more like, I actually don't know that you will do this. So do it. And maybe I'll be surprised that you actually do. Anyway. But with all of that being said, it is now time, of course, for the segment everybody has been waiting for. They've been telling me about it all week. It is, of course, time for the picks. Hit the music. Let's do this one, I think. Okay. All right. So, for those of you who have been keeping track, I am only now one game behind Seth. The comeback is almost complete. We have 2 more weeks, not including the postseason, for me to somehow manage my way back on top of this. So here we go. What I really hope is that it comes down to the Super Bowl. That's what I hope. That would be pretty funny. Cowboys, Commanders, Christmas Day. Seth is taking the Cowboys. I am going to have to agree. 2 teams that aren't in the playoffs. This is going to be the most meaningless Christmas Day game. We will probably have it on at my family Christmas get together because we don't want to watch NBA basketball. Evidently, I would probably rather watch NBA basketball, but we gotta watch football. So give me the boys, I guess. Lions, Vikings. Seth is taking the Lions. I just maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment. I have to take the Lions. I know that they lost their streak of not losing 2 in a row, but I refuse to believe they will lose 3 in a row. And I refuse even more to believe they will lose 3 in a row to that bum Max Brosmer, the 3rd string quarterback in Minnesota. I don't care that it's in Minnesota. I don't remember the last time we even lost in that stadium. Maybe it was 21. Might have been 21 or 22, actually. Probably lost there in 22. Anyway, give me the Lions. Whatever. Maybe they'll keep their playoff hopes alive somehow. Who cares? Broncos at the Chiefs Christmas night. This is going to be the Broncos because, I knew that Mahomes was keeping them in games. I didn't know it was that bad. They're also now down Gardner Minshew. He tore his ACL as well. I shouldn't laugh. It's a terrible injury. I'm sure it's incredibly painful. Yeah, this shouldn't even be a game. I feel bad for Amazon for picking this game because I bet at the beginning of the year, you're like, okay, near the end of the season, Broncos, Chiefs, that's going to be a great game on Christmas. Everybody's going to be watching. No, that nobody's going to be watching that game because one of these teams is already out of the playoffs. The only game that people are really going to probably be watching, honestly, I don't even know. But most of these games, most of the teams are out of the playoffs. Well, the NFL really gambled and missed on these games. Anyway, Texans at the Chargers. Seth is taking the Chargers. It's in LA. You know what? This will be my go ahead. Taking the Texans. I think their defense is very, very good. If they can get to the quarterback, i.e. Justin Herbert, whose offensive line is not good, I think they can keep themselves in this game. It might be an ugly game, but if they can get this, they will. I think they'll have clinched the playoff spot if they haven't already. Yeah, give me the Texans. I think they are a very sneaky team in the AFC. Team that I thought was dead man walking, but ever since C.J. Stroud came back from injury, they have been rolling. Ravens at the Packers. Seth is taking the Packers. You know what? This is going to be the backup quarterback bowl. I don't know if Jordan Love is going to be playing this game. It's in Green Bay. I guess I'll just go with the Packers. If they win, I'll be sad because that'll, I think, officially eliminate the Lions. If they lose, then maybe we'll have a little bit of life. I don't know. The Ravens are out of their backup. They've been just a corpse. Why do people watch sports? Wow. Great lead into Seahawks, Panthers. Seth is taking the Hawks. I'm taking the Seahawks as well. Yeah, Sam Darnold, he looked really good, and they're on a long 10-day rest. The Panthers, they're kind of like the Lions. They don't win 2 in a row. They don't do that. So they're probably going to look very bad in this game, if I had to guess, especially against that Seahawks defense, which played incredibly well. Give me the Seahawks to get the win here. And I don't know if that would secure the 1 seed for them, but it would get them one step closer to securing that. Cardinals at the Bengals, the Tank Bowl. Seth is taking the Cardinals. Why are you not taking the Bengals? I don't know. Maybe Seth is selling here. He's trying to lose on purpose, or he knows something. Give me the Bengals. That offense is really good for Cincinnati. We saw it last week against Miami. They're not playing for anything, but Joe Burrow is just too much fun, and he wants to win. So give me the Bengals. Steelers at the Browns. Yeah, give me the Steel Curtain. This could be a very boring game. Well, it could be. It will be a very boring game, but the Steelers will win. They've already secured their 9-8 Super Bowl, so they will be going to the Super Bowl this year. No matter what, once they make the playoffs, they are going to the Super Bowl. Just let everybody know. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers apparently he still has something in him, even if it is annoying and ugly and unlikable. But yeah, whatever. Jaguars at the Colts. Got to take the Jaguars in this spot. Colts are just completely falling apart. I mean, there's a reason they had to bring in Phillip Rivers, and as decent as he's been, he is Phillip Rivers, and he is not going to save you. This Colts season, you thought the Lions collapse was bad. This was they sold 2 first-round picks to get Sauce Gardner, and they're not going to make the playoffs. They could have used those first-round picks, I'll tell you that much. So give me the Jags. Buccaneers at the Dolphins. Seth is taking the Bucs. I agree. I think this is going to be a get-right game potentially for Tampa. They want to keep their season alive. They want to still win that division and get themselves a home playoff game. The Dolphins are terrible. They've already Quinn Ewers is not going to change anything. It's a nightmare in Miami. And I guess the Buccaneer fans will take over that game because it's Miami. So Patriots at the Jet Patriots. I'm not even going to elaborate. Give me that's all I have. Saints Titans. The ultimate tank. Oh no, actually the ultimate tank bowl's next. Yeah, Seth is taking the Saints. I'm going to agree. Tyler Shuck has been okay. That's about all I can say. I mean, he's done well against bad teams. Did well against the Jets last week. So I have no reason to believe he won't do well against the Titans this week. Give me the Saints. Maybe they found their guy. Probably not, but maybe they did. I don't know. It's possible, technically. Giants at the Raiders. Seth is taking the Raiders to win this tank bowl. They look pretty good against the Texans. I'll take the Raiders as well. I just feel like it would be so Raiders to like go out and win and ruin their tank. This is the ultimate tank bowl. I'm pretty sure the loser of this is might not secure 100%. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know where the standings are, but would basically secure the number 1 overall pick. And I don't know which team needs it more. Like probably the Raiders, if we're being honest. The Raiders are they're terrible. They're putrid. Eagles at the Bills. Seth is taking the Bills. Yeah, I'm going to agree. I'm going to go with the Bills here. Eagles have looked out of sorts for weeks, even in that win to secure the division over the Commanders. They were losing that game at the half. Like, if the Bills get out up front early, it could be a tough time for Philly to get back in this game. Give me the Bills. And then finally, Sunday Night Football. Bears at the 49ers. Seth is taking the 49ers. I am taking the 49ers as well. I don't care. The nonsense stops now. There is no more nonsense. We're not going to have any of this nonsense onside kick. The nonsense stops now. You have your fun, Chicago. I'm sure you're enjoying this. You've had your fun, but the nonsense stops now. Give me the 49ers. I'm not that confident in that, but the nonsense has to stop at some point. All right. Rams at the Falcons. Seth is taking the Rams. Yeah, I don't need to elaborate. The Falcons are terrible. I love Big Kirko, but yeah, it's not going to work out. Matthew Stafford's putting together an MVP season, so give me that. Give me the Rams. All right, rounding it all out here. Cowboys, Commanders, both taking them boys. Lions, Vikings are both taking the Lions. Broncos, Chiefs, we are both taking the Broncos. Texans, Chargers, I am taking the Texans. Seth is taking his Chargers. Ravens, Packers, we're both taking the Packers. Seahawks, Panthers, we are both taking the Seahawks. Cardinals, Bengals, I am taking the Bengals. Seth is taking the Cardinals. Steelers, Browns, we're both taking the Steelers. Jaguars, Colts, we're both taking the Jaguars. Buccaneers, Dolphins, we're both taking the Buccaneers. Patriots, Jets, we're both taking the Patriots. Saints, Titans, we are both taking the Saints. Giants, Raiders, we are both taking the Raiders. Eagles, Bills, we're both taking the Bills. Bears, 49ers, we are both taking the 49ers. And Rams, Falcons, we are both taking the Rams. And those are your NFL Week 17 picks. Is George Kittle hurt? Is that right? Say psych right now. The nonsense stops, all right? I've already made the declaration. The nonsense stops now. Come on, Bacon. Come on, Bacon Bombs. Be with me. The nonsense stops now. Daddy's home. No more yelling and screaming. The nonsense stops now. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Just for a little bit of a look ahead, won't be live for this Christmas game. Go ahead and enjoy Christmas with your family. Do not, let the Lions ruin Christmas. If they lose, whatever. They weren't going to make the playoffs anyway, probably. If they win, okay, maybe there's a little bit of hope. Maybe you have a little bit of fun. Don't let the Lions ruin Christmas. Seriously. I mean, like, if anything is going to ruin Christmas, let it be your terrible family. No. So I'm like the worst. Why do they put me in charge of these things? But if you did enjoy, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe button. Next week will be our last show of the calendar year. I'll do a little bit more of a yearly, talk. I mean, usually I do it at the end of the football season, or at least the first show after the end of the football season. But end of the calendar year, we'll do a little bit of a fun time there. And obviously, we'll break down all the sporting news of the week. So once again, like, subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys all next Tuesday. Have a good rest of your night, everybody, and take care. See ya. Goodbye.